Everyone, welcome back to Luis Discusses Everything. In today's video, we're going to discuss the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict. So, as of recently, if you've seen any international news, there's been a renewed effort from the Azerbaijan government to capture regions known within their territorial influence of Nagorno-Karabakh. So last year, a couple of years ago, actually, in 2020, there was a conflict known as the Nagorno-Karabakh War, and it basically involved Azerbaijan and Armenia in this conflict. This is a conflict that goes way back from the dissolution of the Soviet Union up until now. But basically, it has in the last couple of 3 years, it has flared up again. Right. Azerbaijan and Armenia have been at war for decades at this point, but only now it has flared up again into a violent conflict. In this setting, as you can see, most of this region here is Azerbaijan, including this sliver here, is bordered by Iran, Turkey, Georgia, Russia, Armenia on the other side. Baku being the capital of Azerbaijan and Yerevan being the capital of Armenia. Recently, within the last couple of weeks, conflict initiated between Azerbaijani armed forces and what is left of the Armenian army, because in 2020 war, Azerbaijan basically destroyed Armenia's army, which is why the conflict has flared up again. Azerbaijan argues that Armenia is not following through with their peace accord, which was brokered under Russian by the Russians, right? Experts argue that because Russia is so focused on the war in Ukraine, they have not kept their end of the bargain and kept both sides of the conflict from killing each other, essentially. The war is focused on this particular region, but skirmishes have happened in other areas, which is why you have areas shaded in red and areas shaded in green to sort of represents areas where skirmishes have happened. But basically, this area right here, shaded in yellow, is the areas where quote-unquote Russian peacekeepers are centered, right? But in this modern conflict, what happened recently, you've had the Armenian army, the Azerbaijani army enter Nagorno-Karabakh, and it has basically forced 120,000 Armenians to leave the area. It's no surprise. It is essentially, it's a prolonged effort by the Azerbaijanis government to take over the Nagorno-Karabakh region, right? So this is unfortunately no surprise. There have been reports of, obviously, refugees because conflict has reinitiated. It never really ended because there were skirmishes from both sides. But essentially, the whole point behind the conflict is the control of that region. And you might ask why? Because there are ethnic and religious reasons why, nationalistic reasons for why each side wants control of it. But there's also the fact that that area is also rich in resources that are quite valuable in our modern world. It is uncertain as to what will happen, but there is basically inaction on the Russian side. The Russians used to be the security guarantors of the region, and that is no longer the case, or at least that's no longer the case in practice, right? Gary Peters, I want to show this picture because Gary Peters is a U.S. Senator. The reason I showcase the U.S. Senator is because there have been U.S. presence of troops in the region to serve as a security guarantor. In other words, they want to be there to broker the peace because there's kind of like a world power vacuum, so to speak. Most conflicts in history end with some form of negotiated settlement by another power. So this is no exception. So what is most likely to happen is that either Russia or the U.S. broker a peace accord between the sides, and it ends up either with Azerbaijan taking more control of the Nagorno-Karabakh territory, or with both sides reverting back to the status quo before the 2023 flare-up. So thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, share this video with your friends, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.